I'm talking too fast. Oh, thanks, Adi. So Avocademy was founded about 2 years ago. The curriculum was created probably 4 years ago, and when the pandemic started, I realized there was really no excuses for not starting the program. We started with a small cohort of about 6 students, and it went really well. And little by little, without much effort, kind of grew and caught on fire. And now we have about like 100+ students enrolling every month. We've placed students at some pretty large companies, making all the way from like $56,000 starting salary to $156,000 starting, and that is, people with no experience previously. The 156K was not even graphic design experience previously. It was an education individual with an education background. So big range of salaries, definitely making more than what I was making in my first UX UI design job years ago. The market is super hot right now for jobs. We usually tell our Career Jumpstart students that it takes 2 to 6 months once you start applying, and we kind of help you through that process. And we're seeing students get jobs within like 4 weeks of when they start applying. It's going really fast right now. But yeah, I don't know if there's questions. I can walk you all through the 2 programs. Feel free to come off mute if you have a question and you're on here. We can make it a little bit more interactive. And if not, I can jump to the questions from the form. And maybe I'll take some of those first until you all submit some here. So, do I need a college degree? We actually have a lot of folks that don't have college degrees go through our program, and we have people from all sorts of backgrounds. So you don't need a college degree in this field to get a job. What is most important is your portfolio, and we kind of help you through that, help you get a really good portfolio. We'll help you with your resume. So a college degree is not necessary unless you're applying to a really big company where that's a requirement, but it doesn't like significantly change your odds of getting a job. Do I need to know how to code? It's a question we get a lot. You don't need to know how to code. We don't encourage you to learn how to code. We actually ask you to not learn how to code. It helps if you kind of understand the restrictions, and we'll teach you kind of coding principles from the design perspective, but you don't need to actually know how to code to be successful in this field. UX UI design is everything that comes before development. So it would be like the research part, the wireframing, the visual aspect of it, and then you hand that off to a developer, and the developer actually codes everything. So you yourself don't need to know how to code. Do I need to know how to draw or create artwork? A lot of people think UX UI design is like, being an artist and being very artistic. It's very far from the truth. It helps, but you don't need to know how to draw or create artwork. It's helpful to be able to explain your to explain your designs, but it's not a necessity. Yeah, any questions from you all in the chat? Feel free to drop them in there. Great question. What companies do you partner with for your clients? So we have 2 programs. We have the foundations program. In the foundations program, you are doing what we call a fake project. So we let you pick what problem you want to solve, and then you go through those 2 months solving that problem and learning. We do that so you can really focus on learning. In our Career Jumpstart program, we pair you up with pro bono opportunities. So what that means is us as a company, we go out there and find startups and nonprofits that are looking for work. It's completely pro bono. Nobody gets paid. We don't get paid. You all don't get paid. And what we do is we actually get 4 students in Career Jumpstart, 1 senior designer, 1 program manager, all from our team, and then either myself or another higher level mentor. all together working with one client from these startups. We partner with startups from like some of the top accelerators, Y Combinator, 500. So that's kind of how we primarily find startups. I hope that answers that question a little bit. Another question. I love that you all highlight mentorship. Can you explain more what that looks like? Yes, definitely. So in our UX UI Foundations program, we have 2 levels of mentorship. And really there's almost like 3 levels. The first is our student success team. So our student success team tracks that you are completing assignments at the right pace. So if you're falling behind, they'll hold you accountable. They'll be like, hey, you're supposed to be on this activity, but you're here. What can we do to help? Do you need more time? Do you need extra help? How can we help you? So that's kind of like your accountability partner as one type of mentorship. Another type of mentorship is our Slack mentorship. So on Slack, you can submit your activities and get those reviewed. And as you get those reviewed, you get feedback and you're able to kind of keep moving. If there's anything that comes up during that Slack review, which is essentially like checking against a rubric, then we ask you to schedule Zoom calls. So Zoom calls is like the 3rd type of mentorship. And those are all unlimited. So you have a link and you can schedule as many calls as you want. So you can go straight to a Zoom call, or you can have a Slack mentor actually tell you, hey, it seems like you're struggling with navigation in XYZ. Maybe you should talk to one of our Zoom mentors and get on a one-on-one 30-minute call to talk to them. Does that make sense in terms of mentorship? Our mentors are primarily, our Zoom mentors are primarily designers with like 4+ years of experience, and they all have a specialty. So if you're doing a module that's UX research, you'll be talking to a mentor whose specialty is UX research. If you are doing module 4, which is more of like the UX design, you'll be talking to a mentor whose specialty is UX design, or module 5 UI design. So you'll actually, through your program, get to talk to probably like 8+ mentors, depending on which module you're on and which kind of call you're scheduling. Hope that helps. And I think on our website, we also have like some profiles of mentors as well. Let's see. I've been searching for high and low about the program and reading some Reddit threads. Those Reddit people are horrible. Yep, we know. But I noticed that some people have asked about a bootcamp, and you commented you were a mentor for one of them. Which bootcamp were you a mentor of, and what made you start Avocademy? Yeah, so I was a mentor for Block, and I was also a mentor for Springboard. When I started my like management level of UX UI design, I realized that I was really passionate about education, and I was looking for opportunities where I could still be a UX UI designer, but kind of give back and do some of that mentorship. So those were the boot camps that I worked at very briefly. Those boot camps, not just those specifically, but traditional boot camps are very, very expensive. So in those boot camps and others, you see a lot of people drop out because halfway through, like they just can't afford the monthly payment anymore, or like something like that happens. So that's kind of what made me want to start my own program, was create something that was accessible so that we could have more diverse designers in the field. Because also you find yourself in like, you know, as like a Hispanic gay woman in a room full of white designers, and then you wonder like why products are not more inclusive, and it's because your teams are not more diverse, right? So the idea was like, we can create this program, make it more accessible, get more diverse people through the program, and essentially create more diverse teams to create inclusive products, which is like a mouthful to say, but that was the idea of the program. Okay, what are you expecting for long-term trends in the UX UI field? Do you expect it to stay this hot? Yes. So I think it's only like I think the pandemic just accelerated the growth of the field that was already like in an upwards trend. Where a lot of experiences are going online. Now you have, you know, like the metaverse. I hate that I'm even saying this word on this call, but like there's all of these new trends and things that are popping up. UX UI design right now is for like digital experiences, right? It's for apps, for websites, but the methodology can be applied to voice, to VR, to AR. So just because right now we're learning it in like a very simple way, which is, you know, apps and websites, doesn't mean that you can't pursue that type of you know, design or trends or fields. My specialty actually is in voice UX design. So I started as a generalist UX UI designer, and then I moved into UX, and then I moved into voice UX, and then I kind of did a little bit of like the management thing. Okay, there's a lot of questions, so I'm just going in order. So if I miss something, let me know. Is mentorship individual or group-based? What is the frequency? Mentorship is individual, actually. You can schedule as many calls as you want. We actually give you a link. You select which module you're on, and then you can schedule as many calls as you want. They're 25-minute calls, and you get the 100% of the mentor's attention. How does Avocademy compare to other UI UX design bootcamps? That's like a very long question to ask, but if we talk about mentorship, our mentorship is comparable to some of the very expensive bootcamps, and you know, we have all that unlimited mentorship, one-on-one experience. If we talk about price, we're really affordable compared to some of those big bootcamps that we match in the mentorship program. In our program, you do one portfolio piece. So it's 2 months and you're working on one piece. Some of these bigger bootcamps, you're spending 6 months or a year working on 3 pieces. What happens when you do that is that you finish the program and you've repeated the same process 3 times, which may be good. It may like be more stuck in your brain than if you just do it once. But now you have a portfolio with 3 fake projects. So 3 fake projects doesn't get you any closer to a job. We talked to a lot of recruiters and we realized like there's a big gap between like traditional boot camps and then being able to get a job because you don't have that experience. You haven't worked in the real world. Everything has been, you know, perfect case scenario, no clients, no things going wrong. So that's why we make our first program shorter. One, it helps you decide, is this for you without spending 15K, because it sucks when you spend 15K and you realize this is not for me. And 2, it only makes you do 1 fake project instead of doing 3, because 1 is enough to learn, and then you can jump into these real world projects. And I don't know if that explains the how do we compare. If there's more specific questions, I'm happy to answer those as well. Katie, I think I answered how many full projects we'll have. So for UX UI Foundations, you work on 1 piece. For Career Jumpstart, you work on at least 2 real-world projects, but you can do more. We've had students do up to 4 or 5, depending on when you feel ready to start applying for work. Mary, I see you have your hand up. Feel free to unmute yourself if you want to ask a question.
Yes, thank you. I have a couple of questions. The first one is, I'm currently in the program. Today's day 1. Super excited. One thing that I am concerned about is when it comes to on the spot type of questions, I don't really do well. So will there be mock interviews, just ways to practice interview questions? And then the second part of that question is, as far as LinkedIn is concerned or resume building, is how would I convert my current resume into a UX researcher, which is what I want to be, type of resume without job experience?
Yeah, great questions. Also, welcome to our program. So the first question about on-the-spot questions, interview training. I believe we have some resources in the foundations course with like questions that are typically asked and how to best interview. Also, our one-on-one Zoom sessions with our mentors will prep you through that. We do a lot of like soft skill coaching and like asking you to present your work and walk through your assignments in those one-on-one mentor sessions to like slowly start prepping you for like portfolio walkthroughs and things like that. For resumes, we have resume templates at the end of the course that you can use when you're building your portfolio. And we'll help you take your experience in the course and frame it to more of a UX research lens, even though you're doing UX research, UX design, and UI design. So we'll do all that. If you decide to join Career Jumpstart, you can actually be put on pro bono projects where you exclusively only do UX research. So actually, on Friday, one of our students got a job as a UX researcher. That $156,000 a year person is a UX researcher role. So in Career Jumpstart, we can help you tailor all of your experience in those pro bono projects and your resume for a UX research role, if that's what you're interested in. Does that
Yes,
answer?
it did answer. And just one last follow-up and I'll let you move on. But with focusing on UX researcher, am I limiting my chance of getting a job? Is that way less easy to get than other jobs? But
No, I mean, ultimately a generalist type role or a product designer role where you're doing a little bit of everything is easier to get because at a junior level, you're more helpful to more people. Therefore, essentially, it's like more bang for their buck, the company that's hiring you, right? But I don't think you're limiting your options, right? You could start as a generalist and then move to UX research, but we've seen a lot of entry-level UX research apprenticeships, actually, from some big companies, and a lot of UX research roles. I think in the past, maybe like a year and a half ago, I would have been like, don't recommend it, it might be harder. The market's so hot right now that like if you were like, I only want to do UX research, we can tailor our approach to that and then adjust as needed if we see that you're not getting the same results analytically that we like actually look for in the process.
thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for coming off mute and asking a question. Gave me a second to breathe. Okay, there's another question on here. Do you ever have startup founders come through the course? Is your course helpful for beginner entrepreneurs building an app? We were just talking about this with the team, actually. We do have them. It's interesting because you come and you can choose a problem. So essentially you can get expert help in like building your product as you go through. We do ask that you follow the kind of approach that we have set. So you still have to do the activities in order. But you could come, since you get to pick that problem at the beginning, you could pick the problem that your app is solving and kind of go through the process. The course is definitely helpful for beginner entrepreneurs. I think just the UX design approach of like user-centered and like solving problems people have and understanding people and how they experience it. It's just like at the core of a successful business. So definitely helpful, I would say. And also for startup founders that maybe don't want to take the course but want to do pro bono work, we do have a flyer. Alex, if you're on listening, if you want to share the pro bono work flyer on here in the chat, maybe if anybody is interested in getting free work from us, we can share that pro bono flyer. Okay, so I have a question here that says, I'm wondering if you can describe a full project timeline for a professional UX researcher or designer from start to finish on one project. That's a really hard question to answer because it depends on budget, timeline, resources, the project, the problem you're trying to solve. So really the approach that we take in the course is we give you all these tools, right? And tools are like essentially like research and UX activities that you can do, right? So one of them might be like conducting interviews. The other one might be like setting up a survey, wireframing, ideation session. And essentially you learn all these tools, and then anytime you approach a problem, you're able to then pick and choose which tools you're gonna take out of your tool set and apply to that problem. And that all depends on like the amount of money you have, the budget, same thing, amount of money, the timeline, and all of that. So it's hard to really describe like a professional project from end to end because it just depends. And I know that probably wasn't too helpful, but designers say it depends a lot. So question here, I want to be in the nonprofit realm. Can studying UX UI help me, or how can I incorporate that into the world of work? Yes. Nonprofits hire UX UI designers as well. So you could essentially be a UX UI designer for any industry, and nonprofits could be one of them. UX is a lot about understanding people and their problems. So I think that's also pretty helpful for nonprofits. You could also do free projects for nonprofits once you learn UX UI design and kind of help folks that way. We have some students that go on to work for like these really big corporations, and then they say like, I don't know if this is like super fulfilling. And I always tell them like, you could always find nonprofits to kind of help out on the side or do something to kind of give back with the skills that you've learned. International, yes. Are there any limitations to your program for participants from Canada? There is. So our Foundations program is available to anybody. US-based people have a lot of options with payment plans through third-party providers. International folks have to pay upfront. Unfortunately, we don't have any payment plans for international students. The Career Jumpstart program is only available for US-based folks. That's because we've done a lot of research into how to help you find a job in the US. So that's kind of why we limit it to US. We don't want to let just anybody, because all over the world, UX UI means a lot of different things. For example, we had a student from Jamaica that I spoke to, and they were like, yeah, a UX UI designer has to know how to code in Jamaica. So definitely we're not going to take on, that type of commitment from other countries. What percentage of people who start complete the program? I'm gonna say it's about like a 50-ish%. We have, to be completely honest, like 10% of people that sign up never start the program, which to me is like completely mind blowing. Never start and don't ask for a refund. So it is a pretty rigorous program. And the idea is that like if you can finish the program, you have a really high chance of success. So people that finish the program can then jump into Career Jumpstart, and then we have a 90% placement rate in Career Jumpstart. So if you can finish foundations, there's a high chance we can help you get a job. Lots of high fives for inclusivity. Thank you all. Is it possible to pursue UX job opportunities while in the foundations class? It's possible. Nothing's impossible, but we don't recommend it. Unless you have a portfolio with 3 projects, and for some reason, like 2 projects, and for some reason now Avocademy is your 3rd project, it's really hard to find a job if you don't have a full portfolio. Even with a full portfolio in Career Jumpstart, we still have to give you that real world experience. We have to give you that like development handoff, that soft skill training to then be able to find a job. So people that start applying to jobs before they have a full portfolio, they end up coming to me and being like, hey, like I've applied to 100 jobs and I can't find a job. And it's because they've applied with 1 project. There's a lot of small things that go into applying that build your credibility and build your understanding. So I definitely would not encourage it unless you have other projects in your portfolio. You want to have at least 3 projects in your portfolio before you begin applying. Okay, curriculum questions. Who created the curriculum? Is it based on a collection of links, or is it created by specialists? So the initial curriculum was created by me. And then we updated almost every quarter. And actually we just brought on a full-time person to focus on curriculum as well. The course is a set of videos, mostly me. Now Jenny is in a couple of them, and a set of activities and a set of links. So for every type of learning style, we actually make you take a learning style quiz at the beginning to understand how you learn best. There's different resources. So sometimes we link to YouTube videos, sometimes we link to podcasts, sometimes we link to readings. If you're an auditory learner, we have a link where the readings get translated for you so you can hear them. But it's technically a set of activities that you're doing that have instructions and videos, as well as like video summaries of each lesson, which some have links and articles and things like that. almost all courses, even the $15,000 ones, are exactly like that. Just FYI for everybody. Nolan, do you feel with many boot camps pumping out graduates in UI UX that it'll end up becoming saturated with junior designers? I have a little bit of a controversial answer to this question, and I always say that the field is saturated with bad designers. And we talk to recruiters all the time and our hiring partners, and they're like, we don't have enough designers, right? Like we had a student get 6 offers in 1 week, and she essentially went through the recruitment process for 6 companies, had to say no to 5. So those 5 companies are probably very upset because they can't find somebody to fill those roles. So it's really easy to differentiate yourself in this field because there's so many people that are below average that just doing enough gets you on that top like 10 to 30% of applicants. So I don't think it'll become saturated because I just think the quality of designers out there is not to that level that it needs to be. Do we ever refer students who have completed the bootcamp to recruiters or other companies? Yes, we actually do that exclusively in Career Jumpstart. We have a set of recruiters and we have a set of companies that send us job descriptions. And then we have your profile that we created with your preferences. So if you're on the West Coast and you want to work in person, or if you're on the East Coast and you want to work remote, if you want to work only UX research or UX design jobs, we have these little profiles. And then we go in there and based on the job description, we go in and send your profiles to these recruiters who then reach out to you directly and schedule calls. So yes, and it works. A lot of the time, we've become like trusted sources for these recruiters and they've hired multiple people from us. So yeah, we definitely do that. For Career Jumpstart, how does it work? We do real world projects and you help us place within a company. What's Avocademy's benefit in this? Okay, yeah, so Career Jumpstart, you spend the first 2 months working on these real world projects. So the idea is that you do 2 1-month-long projects. Like I mentioned, we put 3 to 4 students, senior designer, PM, myself, or another higher level mentor with a client stakeholder all together kind of to deliver these. And then once you're done with that, you have a full portfolio. We start with your mock interview training. So we have a team that helps you with behavioral questions, portfolio reviews, all sorts of different types of interviews, design challenges. So there's a lot of interviews in this field. And we tell you how to start applying for jobs. We give you a tool to keep track of it. We look at it analytically, how many jobs we apply to, what's your interview to application rate, where are you finding companies? We give you all of this information. And then we have the internal referrals. So that's kind of what helps us keep our high outcome rate. So that's our benefit. Students get jobs and we get paid if you get a job. So that's how we benefit from it. I don't know if that answers the benefit part. There was another question about job search in Canada. Currently, no, we don't. We are trying to, but it's a very extensive legal process on our end to be able to just have the same setup where you pay later once you get a job. Right now, there's not a lot of companies in Canada that will do that with an American corporation. So we're working on it. We're doing everything we can, and we will let everybody know. I know there's a lot of folks in Canada and internationally that want to take part in this. Is it hard to find an entry-level UX job as a bootcamp graduate? I saw on LinkedIn they need at least 2 years of experience. So job posts suck. They usually says like entry-level, 5 years of experience or something like that. So we tell our students that if it says less than 5 years, you can apply to the job. And usually students get those interviews. So don't be afraid to apply to jobs. If you meet all the criteria and it just says more years of experience. We saw something that said 10 years of experience using Figma, and Figma came out like a couple years ago. It was like something ridiculous, like more years than the tool actually existed. So it's also interesting, like UX and UI means different things to different companies. So always read job descriptions, or like confirm as you're interviewing what you're interviewing for, because there's a lot of different meanings to that. I think there's another international question here. So international folks will not be able to get Career Jumpstart. In that case, yes. So if you're international, you're able to do the foundations course. In the foundations course, we do have like help and resources. You just won't get like the pro bono projects. In the foundations course, we also have like some cool partnerships for hackathons and like other things you can do to get more projects in your portfolio if you wanted to through our partners. But we don't officially have the Jumpstart part for international students. Yeah, so does healthcare play a role in UX UI? For example, having healthcare background and wanting to do UX UI design for that specific area, is that a thing? Awesome question. Yes. So if you have experience in some industry, let's say you're a healthcare worker, you're a teacher, you work in retail, like it really doesn't matter what you do. That experience is super valuable. Like today I had a recruiter email me saying anybody with retail experience, like previous retail experience, is a plus. Like that's what they were looking for. UX UI designers that have retail experience for one of the largest manufacturers of clothing. So you can be a UX UI designer for a lot of different industries. So we'll actually use that industry experience that you have to make you more marketable for these roles. We have a student that was working in a construction company and now became a UX UI designer for a construction company, and they're only looking for people with construction background, for developers, for designers. Like they want everybody to really understand the industry. So it's definitely super helpful. If you have questions about how to sign up in different payments and things like that, you can email info@avocademy.com and we'll connect you to our finance department. Is there any guidance from mentors or the courses in general on how to use your background to your benefit? For example, as a therapist looking to make a career change, I want to frame my past experience in a way that will help me get a UX research role. I want both the bootcamp and my work experiences to matter. Yes, in Career Jumpstart, actually, one of our first activities is like, tell me about yourself. And we actually workshop with you, like how that like elevator speech sounds like and how you can use your past experience to like make that experience work for you, not against you. And when you start your job search, we'll put that as preferences and we'll try and match you to companies that meet those needs. Another question from Canada. Yes, if you are from Canada, the only payment option is unfortunately to pay upfront. Our financing partner only accepts US-based folks for financing. James is asking for ISA boot camps are not offered for California residents. Is that true for the Career Jumpstart program? No, we offered Career Jumpstart to any US residents, and we have alternative options coming very soon for the ISA if you do not want to sign an ISA. And those are also pay later options that are not income based. So be on the lookout for that or email us if you have questions, and I'm happy to share those with you as soon as the contracts are finalized. You have to want to do it. I think this was a comment to something I was saying. There's a lot of messages. If I already know how to use Figma, would I be good to use that in the course, or would I need to learn another type of design software? We actually use Figma in the course. So we give you information for Figma, Adobe XD, and Sketch. We give you discounts for all of them and different links to join, but the course itself is used in Figma just because it's so easy to collaborate with the mentors on it. In Career Jumpstart, how many projects does one do? You do a minimum of 2. You can do as many as you want. We just prioritize people with less than 3 projects, so you can keep submitting your name for projects. I think we had a student do up to like 4 or 5 projects, so you can do as many as you want. Sometimes students like do 2, get a finished portfolio, start applying, and then start on a third one or a 4th total project, just so that they can like break up what it means, like the monotony of like applying for so many jobs. Yep, Mary answered that question for me. Thank you. What advice would you give for someone choosing between front end development and UX UI? It's really, yeah, it just depends what you like to do. I would say UX UI at a big company is really design based, right? It's understanding the user, it's coming up with solutions, and at a big company, front end development is coding those solutions, right? Like attention to detail, making sure it works, like bringing it to life. UX UI design, I think, is much more creative. When you're at a small company, UX UI design probably doesn't even exist, and the front end developer is doing it. So really depends on your skills and what drives you. What's the price for Career Jumpstart program? Career Jumpstart is $5,000 upfront. We've had very few people ever pay upfront, or a 7% income share agreement. So what that means is that at the 8-month mark, if you're making more than $40,000 a year, you would pay 7% of that first year salary. That's just like basic income share agreement stuff. Do we have any scholarship opportunities available? We do scholarships once a year at the end of the year. So if you want to stick around till November, we'll post our scholarships. Last year we gave 42 scholarships, and those folks are wrapping up the course now. Can you test out the foundations programs to join Career Jumpstart? So that's actually the whole point of our model, is you actually can't sign up for Career Jumpstart until you're done with foundations. We don't want to like lock you into any contract or anything. We want you to try foundations and see if it's for you, finish, and then join the Jumpstart program. Oh, can you test out the different kind of test out? Yes, if you want to skip foundations program. If you want to skip foundations program, we need to see samples of your work. So if you have a portfolio already, or you have some sort of case study that maybe you did in a free program, or maybe you did in a previous program, or self-taught, you can send your portfolio to info@avocademy.com, and either myself or one of our team members will share, will review it and send you the Career Jumpstart information.
I have a follow-up on that. That's me.
Yeah.
That was my question.
Right. Yeah.
What are you looking for? Like, if we send, are there specific criteria you look for? Like, if I sent like a portfolio, like how you would know? Like,
Yeah. We look primarily at your wireframes and your UI, and then we look to see if you have any research experience. Honestly, what happens is, like in Career Jumpstart, we don't hold your hand as much as we do in foundations. Like foundations is very structured, very organized. You have accountability. In Career Jumpstart, like you're right into a team of 4 people. So we want to make sure that every person that's in that program can hold their own, so they're not like dragging the team down. It's like we have a very tight 4-week timeline to deliver these real world projects. So we'll do like an overall evaluation of your wireframes and UI. Most of the time we're looking for red flags that maybe signal that there's like some foundational piece missing to your learning. If the portfolio itself is not like made right, we actually don't care. We'll tell you like you can start foundations, but we're going to spend you can start Career Jumpstart, but we'll spend the first 2 weeks fixing your current portfolio before you jump into projects. So we do make exceptions and things like that. Sorry, I read that backwards. Is there an option for relocation, like preference-wise, if you want to work in a different state? Yeah, there's no requirements as to where you want to work once you start applying, as long as it's in the US. You can choose remote, you can choose in person, you can choose in a different state if you'd like. Are you allowed to take a month break or however long break in between the foundations and career program? Are we supposed to do it right after the foundations program? Yep, you can take a break as long as you like. The only caveat to that is if you come back 5 years from now, you may have to make updates to your foundations project based on whatever new iOS like sizing dimensions exist so that your project doesn't look outdated. But there's no requirement. You can take a break in between. Yes, can you share the info sheet? I'm gonna share that right now. All right, so this sheet has, let's see if I shared the right link. Yeah, so this sheet has the information for the pro bono projects. So that just, if you know a startup or small business that's looking for a project to be done, completely pro bono. And there's examples of projects that students have done before. And then there's a project intake form at the bottom if you're interested in filling that out. Usually it takes about a week or two for us to kind of go through our backlog and kind of pick up the next projects. You'll do a kickoff call with myself or another team member, and then we'll assign a team and get you started. Can I have an ASL interpreter while doing the program? Yes, you can. We don't provide them, but if you have one, you can. We also have closed captions on all of our videos. It's accessible, and if you want to be on Zoom, like chat, you can do that as well. We've accommodated like several students that way. What happens if you get laid off your job during the first year after Career Jumpstart? So if at any point, if you're doing an income share agreement, at any point you stop making over 40K, aka you lose your job, you stop paying. So you don't need to, like, let's say you paid for 6 months and then you lost your job. At that point, you are on like a deferment period, and until you get another job, you don't have to pay the last 6 months, if that makes sense. So we won't make you pay if you lose your job. Why does the program always start on Monday? Because we have cohorts, because we group all of you with other people starting at the same time to encourage accountability and to kind of help make sure that you all are moving accordingly. We provide you with like a timeline, an estimated timeline, so it just makes it easier for us to make sure everybody is progressing accordingly. Are there prereqs to join the pro bono project teams? So there's no prereqs if you're a startup looking for free work. You'll fill out the form and we will review it, make sure it's a good fit. And to join the teams in CJ, no, you just need to be enrolled in CJ, and then we actually post the projects. I can show you all what that looks like very briefly. Let's see. So this is our Career Jumpstart Slack channel. There's a project opportunities channel, and we post projects like this, and then students submit their interests. So this was like an EdTech project. This was another EdTech project. And then, this one's still open. So you actually come on here and say, hey, I'm interested in this project. And then based on, and I said here, based on the amount of projects you have on your portfolio, we give preference to other students. It's not very competitive. Students usually get a project within the first week or so. And for that first week, we have a set of activities that we want you working on, which is your resume. And then there's a set of like learning content on how to be successful working in a team, how to do a heuristic evaluation, like a lot of stuff that you want to learn. And y'all have kept me talking this entire time. I thought we'd be out of questions. Is it possible to sign up today to start in this cohort? Yes. Carla's saying yes. Yeah, we could squeeze a couple of you in. I think we're full, but it's technically March, so we could do that if you wanted to start today. Is the coursework, my hair's crazy here. Is the coursework load manageable with a full-time job on the side? Yes. A lot of our students are full-time workers, and we actually don't recommend you quit your job or take time off to do the course. You can do it part-time. So the course is meant to be 15 to 20 hours per week over 8 weeks. If you need more time, we give you more time. We don't charge extra. Very lenient with the time. So you can definitely do that. We had like a full-time working brand new mom finish the course in like 6 weeks. I don't know how, but she just had a baby, working full-time, and finished the course super fast. So to the other side of that, you can also do the course full-time if you're currently unemployed. We've had a student finish the course in 4 weeks if you're doing it full-time. So it's really at your own pace. You have 8 weeks of unlimited mentorship. We make some exceptions to that if you need a little bit more time, but the 8 weeks is when you can get on those unlimited Zoom calls that are very helpful in finishing the course. What is your advice for international students after the foundation course because there's no Jumpstart program? So we've actually created some of these partnerships with hackathons and things like that to help international students get that additional experience. The hackathons we're partnered with are called Equalathons, and it's essentially real companies that you can go and do like a month-long or a couple week-long hackathon. So we do give some opportunities, and we do that mindfully to help international students finish the course. Is there anything we can look into or do to make sure UX UI design is for us before we commit to the program? Yes, you can go on YouTube and search for like life in the day of UX UI designer. Videos are probably pretty outdated, like pre-pandemic times where you see somebody like going into a San Francisco office, but that's pretty helpful. There's an episode on Netflix of a show called Abstract, and I'm gonna here on season 2. All right, I'm just gonna share this here. So there's this episode of the show Abstract. It's on Netflix. It's on Ian Spalter, and it's about digital product design. He's like the head of design or was head of design at Instagram. Really cool video, like really conceptualizes like what UX UI design and product design is, and like shot beautifully well that entire series. But it shows like specific little, like it shows you like at Instagram, which is an app that's been around for years now, how they added like the shopping cart button, how they tested, A/B tested. Sometimes it's hard for people to understand how like, an app that's been around forever wants to hire UX UI designers, and it's not only for starting from scratch. So that Netflix show is really good for that. Is there anything we can look into? Nope, we'll just start that one. When's the next beginner course starting? So our UX UI foundation course, one started today, and we have another one on Monday. So you can sign up whenever and choose a date. Tip, if you sign up today, choose next Monday as your start date, you get access as soon as you sign up. So it gives you an extra week, and you can like use this week to just look at the welcome section in module 1, and then for like your time to officially start next Monday, if you want to. So it's a little good tip there. Thank you. Of course, thank you for the kind words. Yep, you can sign up. You can sign up online on our website. So the avocademy.com website should have the 2 payment options on there. All right, a couple more questions. So I've read that Macs are the industry standard. Are we okay using a PC? And is there a recommendation for specs you should have on your computer? Okay, great question. You cannot do the course from an iPad. So I'll say that straight out. So you can't do it from an iPad. You do need a computer. It does not need to be a Mac. It could be a PC. You need a stable internet connection, and it needs to work. I don't know how else to say that. There's not specific like PC specs. Like if you can load Google and search and do stuff, that's really what you need. The Figma is browser-based, and so you can literally go to figma.com, make a free account, and it's in a browser. So there's no specific specs needed. You do want to be able to get on Zoom from your computer, so it makes it easier to share your screen while you're talking to mentors and really get the most out of your experience. We've had students use an iPad and then they run into problems because certain of the like Chrome applications we use don't work if you're on an iPad. So as long as you have a computer, we've had students work from a library, just use like Macs that are in a library. So as long as you have a computer, like there's not like RAM and gigabytes of space or whatever, I'm gonna embarrass myself. Like there's no specific requirements needed. Are any of the jobs temp jobs or are they all permanent jobs? So there's a mixture of both. Career Jumpstart students that get jobs are either contract or contract to hire or directly full-time jobs from a company. Some people have like this aversion to contract jobs because when they think contract, they think freelance, and freelance equals instability and like having your own business and all of this stuff. But contract jobs, unless you like curse somebody out or like fight somebody on the job, like they're very likely to be renewed and or turn into full-time jobs. So contract jobs pay much higher than a full-time job because you get paid per hour. So you can get anything up to like $75 per hour, which I'm gonna do some math here. $75 per hour equals like $156,000 a year salary. So anything from like 45 to 75 is pretty average for junior designers during this hot market. I'm gonna disclaim that before anybody comes at me for that. During the market, we're seeing a lot of like 45 to 75 per hour for junior designers. So that's six figures, mid-high six figures for contract jobs. And they're for big companies because essentially what happens is a contracting company is helping Facebook, Google, whatever big company, I'm saying the big ones, but like maybe not those, some other big companies find talent. So your paycheck comes from this intermediary company, but you're working directly with the Google team, right? So it's almost like you're working for Google, but this other company is helping in the middle. It's much faster to get those jobs. Those jobs you like, the interview process is like 2 or 3 interviews and you get the job, where if you were interviewing for Google directly, it's like an 8 interview process and it can take months to get that job. So it's not bad to take those contract roles. It's some of the big logos we have are contract roles that end up being full-time. And because you started a contract so high, when you convert to full-time, you get a much higher salary than if you would have just started working there directly. And they might bring you in at like a mid-level or a higher level than if you had just started directly from them. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, thank you guys for joining and all the questions. I don't think I got to all of the questions that were submitted, but I think some of them were covered here. But I hope this was helpful for you all. If you have any questions, info@avocademy.com. Those emails end up actually in my inbox, and Sadi too. She'll like send them to me if they need my response. But feel free to send those messages. I read all of them. If you have any questions, you can text us. Carla, I'll make Carla say hi because she always does this to me on calls. Carla will answer the text, and if there's any questions for me, she'll send them over. But yeah, thank you all for joining and keeping me going with all these questions. I hope it was helpful. Yeah. Bye, y'all.